Good evening, and welcome back to the Sanctuary of Truth. Welcome back to whatever you need. Tonight, we are not merely discussing the headlines that flash across your screens and vanish within the hour. We are here to dissect the living, breathing human drama that unfolds when the cameras stop rolling. We are here to talk about the silence that screams louder than any press release, and the invisible threads that tie the past to the present. Before we descend into this labyrinth of emotion, I have a small but crucial request for you. If you value this kind of in-depth storytelling, please subscribe to the channel and ring that bell. But if you want to be more than just a spectator, if you want to sit at the table with the true insiders who support this work, I urge you to hit the Join Cattle button right now. That single click is a gesture of immense support for us, allowing us to keep the lights on and the stories coming. Your support is the backbone of whatever you need, and we do not take it for granted. Now, take a deep breath. The question hanging in the heavy air tonight is sharp enough to draw blood. What truly lies behind the damp eyes that refuse to be seen, and the stubborn quiet that refuses to be broken? Late last night, the tectonic plates of the entertainment world shifted. It wasn't a tremor, it was a quake. The brief, blindingly bright romance that swept up Cenk Torun and a dazzling, headline-ready beauty has officially shattered. It burned with the intensity of a flare, fast, high, and blinding, and then it blinked out, leaving behind nothing but fog, rumors, and the distinct, acrid scent of unfinished business. To the casual observer, the announcement might have come as a shock. But to those of you who swim in the deep currents, the true family of whatever you need. This was written on the wall weeks ago. You saw it in the way certain glances failed to meet the camera lens. You felt it in the hollow nature of social media posts that arrived without captions, standing like empty monuments to a fading feeling. Beneath the glitz of the relationship, the heavy chandelier of family expectation was swinging precariously, held up by a single fraying thread. We must speak about the matriarch. On Cenk's side of the aisle, the presence of an older, wiser voice pushing back against the whirlwind was a constant, low-frequency hum. His mother, a woman of dignity who never descends into the crude arena of public commentary, was said to have watched this rapid romance with a frown hidden behind closed doors. It was not rage that she harbored but a layered, unwavering concern. The whispers that escaped the family home carried a simple, cutting philosophy. A foundation built on speed and spectacle is not built to last. While Cenk's most ardent supporters bristled at the new relationship, sensing a mismatch, he pressed forward like an actor determined to finish the scene even as the set collapsed around him. But when the private signals finally fell out of alignment, the break did not feel like a sudden snap. It felt like a heavy burden finally touching the ground. And the moment that separation hit the news cycle, the spotlight did not fade to black. Instead, it pivoted. It swung, slow and inevitable, like the beam of a lighthouse cutting through the fog, landing squarely on a name the public has memorized like a prayer, Mahassine Merabet. Almost instantly, her name rose in the comments sections before the news anchors could even finish their sentences about Cenk's breakup. Like flowers twisting their stems to find the morning sun, public attention turned violently toward the woman whose chemistry with Cenk once made television screens glow, and whispers swell into a roar. Hope lit up one side of the city. Fans began to dream of a sequel, a return to the golden era. But on the other side of the city, a warning bell began to ring. We must talk about the other matriarch. Mahassine's mother is not a woman who confuses the volatility of romance with the necessity of safety. She is protective in her marrow, a guardian at the gate who is unwilling to let her daughter bleed for the sake of an audience's applause. Reports suggest she has drawn a line in the sand with a hand made of steel. Her counsel to her daughter was sober, perhaps even harsh in its clarity: follow your own path, and keep the door to the past bolted shut. This brings us to a difficult question, and I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe a mother's intuition is the ultimate safeguard, or can it sometimes stand in the way of destiny? How much influence should a parent have over a heart that is no longer a child's? Pause the video, write your thoughts, and don't forget to like this video to help the algorithm find other thoughtful souls like yourself. And remember, hitting that join button makes you a pillar of this community. This maternal intervention raises questions that slice through the soft fantasies of the fan base. If the chapter between Cenk and Mahassine was truly finished, if the book was closed and shelved, why the alarm? Why the need for such a firm barricade, planted so visibly in the soil of their lives? Who is being protected here? Is she protecting her daughter from him, or is she protecting her daughter from the version of herself that still remembers the warmth of his orbit? Irony, as we know, loves a stage. The more Mahassine's mother signaled caution, the louder the fans roared in defiance. A roar became a wave, and that wave became a flood. Suddenly, timelines were crowded by a single plea pressed into 1,000 different phrases: meet, talk, try again, marry. There were even whispers that the caution in Cenk's home had quietly softened. There is a belief that his family might now view the return of the familiar as a stabilizing force. After all, an old flame can sometimes warm a house better than a fresh, unpredictable spark. People poured out their wishes in messages that stung with sincerity. Give it one last chance, please. The pain isn't coming from other people, it's coming from the distance between you. It was a fever pitch no one had witnessed since those early, luminous days when their names shared the same headline and even their shadows looked as if they were leaning toward each other. But the whispers that slipped through the usual cracks in the industry told a story far colder than the chance of reunion. Some insiders, speaking under the condition of anonymity, said it is impossible to fall in love again in the same way. They spoke of the kind of impossibility that comes after sleepless nights, after lines rehearsed in front of mirrors, and after diaries written only to be burned. According to these murmurs, Mahassine hasn't just closed the book, she has sealed it with fire and left the ashes out in the rain. And yet, the city refuses to sleep. A rumor crawled out of the dark last night and refused to die. It speaks of a meeting, secret, fast, and timed with the precision of a heist. One arrived as the other slipped in, the door barely touching the hinge. Representatives for both stars swatted the story away like a fly, denying it instantly. But one voice, insistently calm and dangerously specific, repeated the same description to us. It was brief, it was clandestine, and it was tense. Let us be clear, this was not a meeting of olive branches and the perfume of reconciliation. It looked more like a defense treaty than a confession of love. Cenk, reportedly feeling crushed by the pressure of 1,000 strangers choreographing his next move, is said to have reached out not to rekindle a romance, but to request a ceasefire. Be kind with your silence online, he asked, or so the rumor goes. And her reply? It was the sort of poise Mahassine is known for, laced with an impenetrable distance. Surprised, perhaps. Hurt, almost certainly. But her posture reportedly stayed cold enough to keep the world, and him, at bay. This meeting was not the start of a new chapter, it was a negotiation on how to survive the current one. In the cold light of day, their roads have split with visible intention. On Mahassine's side, there is momentum. Meetings with producers are stacking against one another like dominoes. Scripts are landing on her table with the heavy thud of new beginnings. She has thrown herself into work, that old and faithful shelter that never breaks your heart. Friends close to her say she is repeating a mantra. The past is the past, and the only way it stays that way is if you keep walking away from it. Sometimes, progress is just a heavy door you keep pulling shut until the latch finally clicks. Meanwhile, Cenk's horizon looks hazier, filled with shapes that refuse to hold still. Those who know his rhythms told the truth without flourish. She never left his mind. But time is a strange, cruel animal. He could not find the right moment, the right feeling, or the right safety to turn back when it mattered. So now he turns inward. Solitude can be a rehearsal, too, the rehearsal for a decision only you can make. In a twist that would make playwrights smile, the quieter acceptance of a potential reunion is now rumored to come from his side of the family. Perhaps they have realized that the restlessness of the past few months was a symptom of his absence from her, not a cure for it. Online, the divide has widened until it looks like a canyon. On one rim stand the believers in fate, shouting into the wind that two halves should be made whole. On the other rim stand the hard-eyed realists, begging the crowd to leave sleeping pain asleep. Every call for peace jars her, wrote one voice that claimed closeness to the situation. Every suggestion that he knock on her door sets her heartbeat off rhythm. We must ask ourselves, what if leaving things untouched is the only form of kindness left between them? What if the love the fans want is the very thing that would destroy the peace they have fought so hard to build? Before we reach the climax of this analysis, I want to remind you that your engagement helps us bring these hidden stories to light. If you haven't yet, check that join button on our channel homepage. Being a member of Whatever You Need means you are directly funding the truth-seeking we do here. It's a small step for you, but a giant leap for our community. As if the city demanded a final twist, one has arrived. A prominent figure in the arts, a mutual friend to both stars, has begun moving between them like a cautious diplomat. This is not a schemer looking for drama. This is described as someone haunted by the thought of two people carrying invisible weights they could set down with a single conversation. The mission of this mediator is specific. It is not a meeting for flowers, chocolates, and empty promises. It is a meeting for clarity. The goal is to get them to look at each other in the harsh daylight, to say what was never truly said in the chaos of the past, and then decide, once and for all, whether to tear out the last pages of their story or to write an epilogue. Will it happen? Or will pride, that bruised and stubborn guard dog, keep the door locked? The story barrels on, even without official statements. Those who write headlines for a living couldn't keep up if they tried. What will win in the end? Cenk's melancholy drift, the version of him that seems to stare at the Bosphorus and listen for footsteps that may never come? Or will it be Mahassine's forward motion, brave and deliberate, a woman holding her own narrative by the spine? Will the mothers, standing like generals on opposite ridgelines, one urging caution, one perhaps willing to see what old stability can offer, tip the balance? Or will the relentless chorus of the crowd push past all barricades until something gives? Here is the only certainty we can give you without blinking: this is not an ending. It is an intermission. It is the breath before the orchestra lifts their bows again. Sometimes, the loudest moments happen in the silence before the door opens. So I turn the question over to you, the jury of public opinion. What do you make of the whispering mediator, this friend hovering between allegiance and mercy? Is it hope dressed in practical clothes, or is it a fantasy with good manners? Do you think they should meet for closure, or should the past remain a closed country? Leave your detailed theories in the comments. We read every single one. And please, before you go, ensure you have subscribed to Whatever You Need. If you enjoyed this deep dive, like the video and share it with a friend who understands this drama. And for those who want to be the backbone of this channel, click that join button and become a part of our inner circle. Until next time, keep your eyes open, because the story is never truly over. Goodbye.